PowerPoint, don't jump around me. I'm freaked out now. Okay. Imagine coming from a history where you were kidnapped, raped, beaten. Your family was sold, bred, and worked like livestock. Your children were used for alligator bait and put into human zoos. You were experimented on without your consent in ways that were both painful and fatal, like by being injected with syphilis, having your cells harvested and sold without your knowledge, and having experimental vaginal surgery performed on you without anesthesia. Think about what it would be like to live in a world that tells you it doesn't want you to be a part of it, but then when you try to make your own society, you are actively bombed, looted, rioted, and mass murdered. Think about being part of a world where everybody is equal, but there are laws that say you are 3/5 of a human, and special laws are needed just to stop you from being hunted, tortured, murdered for sport, and allowed to sit at the same counter, use the same water fountain, or attend the same school. Now imagine waking up in a world where you think all of this is the past, only to be bombarded with instances of people who look just like you, being shot in the back while running away, strangled to death while being restrained, and found mysteriously dead in a jail cell. Imagine being more afraid of the people who are supposed to help you than the people who are supposed to hurt you. Imagine being told that having a smart mouth, not using your turn signal, stealing a 79-cent cigar, or walking down the street at night are justifiable reasons for your demise. Imagine being perceived as so alien, even in 2017 in the country you were born in, that you could be discriminated against legally for the way that your hair grows out of your head. At what point would you decide that someone needs to stand up and say that your life matters too? I wish everything that I just said was from some dystopian novel about a world gone terribly wrong, but it is not. It is an excerpt from everyday life in a country that touts individualism, but condemns difference. A country that calls itself progressive while fighting to be conservative of a past that at best ignores you and at worst is actively against you. For just a few moments, I would like you to let go just a little bit of your immediate reaction to the words Black Lives Matter and explore why it's even necessary to say it. On July 10, 2016, New York Police Commissioner Bill Bratton stated that Black Lives Matter could learn a lot from the civil rights movement. The gist of his message was, as Salon.com puts it, that civil rights must have been a good thing that united us all as a people. He's not alone in his sentiment. A lot of public figures actually agree with him and denounce Black Lives Matter as divisive, unlike the civil rights movement, which is depicted as uniting. However, actual polling of Americans now and in the 60s does not show that. An Pew Research poll done in July of 2016, 22% of Americans were against Black Lives Matter. However, in a Gallup poll done in 1961, 57% of Americans were against civil rights movements like sit-ins, protests, and freedom buses. 67% were against freedom riders, and 60% felt like mass demonstrations committed during the civil rights movement actually hurt the cause of civil rights. So taken in that context, Black Lives Matter is actually much, much less contentious to the American public than the civil rights movement ever was. Since its inception, another problem Black Lives Matter has had is that it's been accused of inciting violence and condoning the murder of police. However, hard data absolutely refutes those claims. According to the FBI's Law Enforcement Officers Killed or Assaulted 2015, which is the most recent and reliable database available, the murder of law enforcement officers actually dropped 20% from the previous year and 40% since the 80s. Even sites like the Officers Down Memorial page, which tracks police officers' deaths by the day, shows that police officers are safer now than they have been in almost 40 years. The FBI statistics also found that 52% of cop murderers were actually white males, making them a far greater threat to police officers than any single or collective minority group. Reports of rioting have also plagued Black Lives Matter, when in fact violence is not condoned or advocated by any member or representative of Black Lives Matter. Of the 1,030 events organized or participated in by Black Lives Matter, only 2 riots have ever been tangentially linked to Black Lives Matter: Ferguson and Baltimore. And it's important to note that neither Ferguson or Baltimore was a Black Lives Matter event, and the bulk of people there were not tied to Black Lives Matter. It's also been said that police violence against Black and Hispanics is not as prevalent as it is against whites, but again, the data tells a different story. While non-Hispanic whites are killed in larger numbers than Blacks or Hispanics, they also make up the largest percentage of the country's population. So statistically, the number of Blacks and Hispanics killed is greater than the number of whites killed, although the number of whites killed is greater than the number of Blacks and Hispanics killed. So for example, if I had 60 green Skittles and 20 red ones, and you ate 11 green ones and 10 red ones, numerically, you would have eaten more green ones, but statistically, you would have eaten more red ones because there were less of them to begin with. If I had those green and red Skittles in a bowl together, you would have to specifically target the red ones to get that many when there are so many green ones. Likewise, the data for police murders strongly correlate race with likelihood of incidents. According to Ross's comprehensive 2015 survey, the likelihood of being shot by police while armed and Black or Hispanic is 4.51 times greater than being armed or Caucasian and killed. Black and Hispanic unarmed individuals are 5.16 times more likely to be shot by police than white unarmed individuals. Black and Hispanic unarmed individuals are 1.56 times more likely to be shot than Caucasian armed individuals. And the ratio of police shootings to community violence does not correlate. Police shootings were not more likely to happen where crime was highest. They were more likely to happen where income was lowest and minority residency was highest. And finally, there's everybody's favorite argument: if Black Lives Matter cares so much about Black lives, what about Black on Black violence? Is that not a huge problem that needs to be addressed? The answer is both yes and no. Black Lives Matter actually does address Black on Black violence, but FBI statistics show that it is no more significantly prevalent in Black communities than it is in any other. 84% of white people are killed by other white people, but the terms white on white and suburban crime are never, ever used. If I were to walk in here and say breast cancer matters, nobody would feel the need to object and say that all cancer matters. The inherent understanding would be that, of course, all cancer matters, but right now we're talking about the one that affects the boobies. The same can be said for Black Lives Matter. It does not imply in any way that anyone's life matters any less. The fact that all lives matter is obvious, but that it is even necessary for me to have to stand here and defend why saying the Black ones matter too is the crux of the issue that Black Lives Matter seeks to address. Too often the lives of people in this country that are of color are trivialized and violated, and it's not done with the majority consent, but with the majority silent. Black Lives Matter is not anti-cop, it's not anti-white, it's just anti-injustice. They're not asking for special treatment, you're just asking for people of color to be treated the same as everybody else. So it's much easier to blame a movement than it is to understand a cause. Black Lives Matter is a movement whose cause has been hijacked, talked over, and misrepresented. So when I'm standing here dispelling the myths and saying Black life matters, I'm not telling you my life matters more than yours. I'm telling you that if it was your life, it would matter to me the way that my life should matter to you. Thank you.